If you spend any reasonable amount of time at all riding your bike, you'll eventually experience a flat tire. Not to worry though, with the proper equipment and just a little knowledge, you'll have the flat changed and you'll be back on the road in a couple of minutes. As soon as you realize that you have a flat, focus on controlling the bike first. Then, signal to the riders behind you while you gently bring yourself to a stop. If your rear tire is the problem, shift to the smallest gear in your cassette. Click through a couple of gears at a time and then turn the cranks with your hand in order to make the chain shift. Open the brake calipers using the lever on the brake itself, and then release the quick disconnect on the skewer. Do this by opening the disconnect lever and then spinning it counterclockwise several times. Once the quick disconnect is loosened, the wheel should simply pop right out of the frame. Grab your tire levers out of your saddlebag and then set your bike aside while you're working on the tire. Hook your levers under the bead of the tire and pry it over the edge of the rim. Hook one lever to a spoke so that it doesn't move, and pull the other one all the way around. If you have a stubborn wheel, you may need to do a little more prying than Jill does here. Once the tire is completely off on one side, pull the tube out. Then, fold it up so you can take it home in your jersey pocket or your bag. Run your fingers around the inside of your tire to make sure there are no foreign objects inside that can flat your spare tube. Using a pump, put enough air in the tube to make it manageable. You can also simply blow some air in with your mouth if you don't have a pump. Place the new tube inside the tire starting at the valve stem. Then, using your fingers, place the tire back on the rim until you can no longer get the bead over the edge. At that point, use your tire levers to pry the tire all the way on. Be careful not to pinch the tube between the lever and the rim. Go all the way around the wheel, checking to make sure that the tube is completely seated inside the tire. Using your hand pump or your CO2 inflator, air up the tire. Put the wheel back into the frame so that the chain is lying on the smallest gear in the cassette, as shown here. Once the wheel is lined up properly, simply lower the frame down onto the wheel so that the skewer slides into the dropouts. Here's a view from another angle. Clamp the calipers back down and tighten the quick disconnect lever. Turn the crank with your hand to make sure that the wheel is on correctly and that the chain is shifted into the correct gear. And then you're back on the road.